Last weekend, I ran the second ultramarathon of the year, the beautiful 75k course called KAT100 by UTMB. That took us all the way around the Kitzbühler Alps. Honestly, the days afterwards have been almost as difficult as the race itself. After 65k in the race, my right knee started flaring up and the IT band got very inflamed. I basically had to walk the last 10 kilometers of downhill, and after that, it's been extremely sore. I spent the day immediately following the race, just relaxing in Innsbruck and seeing some of the famous sights before catching a late night flight back to Copenhagen. In just a few weeks, I'm heading to Zell for an Ironman 70.3. So I don't really have the luxury of spending multiple weeks completely recovering. And at the same time, I've learned that you can't just train your way through injuries. So this week's going to be a little bit different. Instead of pushing the training as hard as possible, I'm going to focus on getting my body back to normal and recovering the best way I can while still aiming to not only maintain but also improve my fitness. Because in a situation like this and after this kind of race, how do you actually get back into training without losing all the momentum you previously built? That was a rough one. First bike session of the week. About an hour and a half, like an average of 8% gradient. Not biked in a while, so that was quite tough. The legs were like wobbling at the end. So after an ultra, it's quite natural for the body to feel a bit wrecked. But ultra specifically, and especially these alpine ones, come with some particular recovery demands. First of all, there'll be a big amount of muscle damage induced in most of the legs. Especially if you've done a lot of running on the downhills and such. You'll also be very depleted in general. This one's a bit easier to fix, but like glycogen depletion, sodium, dehydration, especially on races like this where it's very hot as well. You're doing a lot of climbing, you're sweating a lot. And the other thing is just general fatigue and sort of tiredness. At least for the race that we did, we started at midnight, so you're awake for 30, 40 hours in a row. So that can sort of start taking its toll. You're running on sleep deprivation a little bit. It's not too bad on a one-dayer like this, even though it's a midnight start. But, it still stresses the nervous system and it puts the body out of the sort of homeostasis that it's used to being in. So what I've done to sort of recover from it, at least in the first 24, 48 hours, is just taking it very chill, trying to sleep as much as possible. It was a bit unfortunate this time because I had a late night flight, and then I had to go to work the day after, unfortunately. So I didn't get too much sleep those first 2 days, but I tried eating a lot of protein, a lot of veg and sort of nutritious food, but also like just big quantities because obviously you're in a huge deficit after one of these races. Thing that I did different this time compared to previous races I've done is I tried to do a lot of walking the day after. Even though my IT band was quite bad, I walked around a lot of Innsbruck, A, for just some like sightseeing stuff, but B, also just sort of get some blood flow back into the legs and get some active recovery sort of started. Did a little bit of just like stretching out and stuff as well in those first 2 days, but nothing too crazy. And no training the first 2 days either. So first 48 hours after the race, absolutely no training. I've also incorporated some stretching this time around and some sauna as sort of my two more niche recovery protocols. So I've been going to the sauna twice a week, just to sort of promote blood flow, and I don't know, just because it kind of feels good as well. It's mentally relaxing. I think that's probably the biggest benefit of it, rather than physiological stuff. And then the stretching I've done specifically to try and sort of get the IT band a bit looser. So I have some hip flexor stretches, some glute stretch. It's Friday night. We're on the trainer for a little bit of Swift. Just doing 48-minute EC recovery session today. Did a very brutal mountain pass emulation yesterday. So we're just trying to recover a bit. It's a perfect night to do this because the last Seoul Ultra, probably the biggest backyard ultra in the world, started 6 hours ago. So we're just enjoying watching that. The other thing why we're on the bike rather than out running and stuff is because we just done the KAT100 6 days ago and the right knee is feeling a little bit spicy. Yeah, just taking this full week off running and then hopefully full steam ahead from next week onwards.
I hear you been asking about me, where I've been and where I sleep. Hey, hard to find me if you really want to. Turns past that takes a cool sign. Same podcast, same blues.
Alright guys, it is Sunday, so that means time for the biggest training day of the week. Normally this would be the mega long run day, but because we've got a half Ironman in 2 weeks, we're gonna spice it up a bit and do a tri day. So I was originally gonna ride outside, but the weather's not too good, so we're gonna do, I think, a 2-hour spin on this guy here. And then we're gonna go for a quick swim and a quick sauna, and then we're gonna head out with a friend for a bit of a run. TBD how long that will be. So for today, we're gonna be trying out a new piece of kit. We got this Garmin chest strap heart rate monitor. Never yet actually used one of these before, so it'd be a cool experiment to try. I think it hooks up directly to the Wahoo kicker that I've got on the bike. So yeah, we're gonna try and see to use this instead to hopefully get some more accurate heart rate data from the session. So see what we do. So to start with, for one of the balls, we're going to be using some of this Science and Sport electrolyte, which is just a mix of fast digesting carbs and some sodium. We ended up doing some cadence kicks instead, so right now 4 minutes, 160 watt, 70 RPM, and then it goes up to a much higher watt, 105 RPM, so that'll be quite spicy. And then all the rest we're going to try and be in air position to practice for the race, just get used to that position again. But yeah, starting out with some cadence kicks, get a good sweat going. Sunday afternoon, which means we're in the kitchen getting ready to do the meal prep of the week. I like doing my meal prep on Sundays just to have, for lunch every day of the week. Just usually try and make something that's fairly high protein, high carb, and also a lot of macros, so there'll be loads of veg and stuff in there. So this week we're going to be making one of my recent classic go-tos. So it's just minced chicken, and then I usually just stir fry that with a bunch of taco seasoning. Oh, and a bunch of carrots, chopped carrots, and then fry that for a bit until the chicken's ready. And then I usually just pump in a bunch of different beans, so black beans and kidney beans today. And then top it all off with a bunch of pickled beets. And these bad boys up a bit. Okie dokie, chicken going in. Alright, chicken is just about cooked. We're gonna add in all the beans, give another couple minutes, and then plate it all up with the rice and the pickled beets. Turned out to be a few more beans than I thought it would be. See if this all fits in a pan. Right, for the second workout of the day, just eating an easy run. I don't know exactly how far yet. It's the first run back. Yeah, we're just gonna take it easy today, see how far the knee will take us. Coming up on the end of the run. Done about 16k, 10 miles. Felt okay for the most part. The IT band is starting to act up a little bit just now at the end. It was a bit ambitious going out for a 10 miler for the first run back, but I think it should, fingers crossed, recover very quickly. Decent week of training in the books, especially for being first week back from the ultra. Monday tomorrow, back to work, back to routines. Gonna be busy, but we'll try and fit workouts around it. Be another big week of training. Okay, I thought we'd just do a little bit of a dive into the upcoming events that will be taking place for the rest of this year. So I think I've got the racing calendar finalized for this year. And even though it's near the end of August, there's still quite a few events to go. This is where we are today, the 20th. This has been the last 2 weeks of training. I did here on the Sunday, the 9th, sorry, on the 8th, was the KAT100 75k Endurance Trail. So I'm just about almost 2 weeks of recovery from that. So you can see training these last couple of weeks has been mostly swimming, cycling, strength training, nothing too crazy running wise. And we do have next Sunday already, so Sunday the 30th, we have the Ironman 70.3 Zell in Austria. So we'll be flying out on the Friday to Austria to prepare for that. And then, as you can see, just a few days after that, me and my friend are going to go up Grossglockner. So we're doing that as a guided climb. 2-day climb where you go up to one of the alpine huts on the first night, and then you push for the summit early the morning after. So it's in alpine grade. I think it's a PD plus, so petite difficile or something like that, like a little bit difficult in French. So yeah, it should be quite a cool mountaineering objective. One of the more technical summits I will have done if we manage to get up there. We got the other big one, which is 2 weeks after getting back from Austria, which is this backyard. This is a local backyard ultra. This would be my first backyard ultra, actually, but I wasn't planning on going all out on this one. I was planning on using it more as sort of a tune-up race / long run in the lead up to Ultramarathon 100k. This is 4 weeks out from today. We'll get a little bit of recovery from Austria before and do quite a lot of running here, hopefully, and then treat this as sort of more a long run, so I won't taper in before it is or anything like that. Yeah, see how many laps we can go, I'd be happy with sort of anywhere between 6 and 12, maybe. I think it's a good range. It's also cool to get just a feel for the format, because I think next year I might want to go back and do one of the backyard ultras properly. So it'd be cool just to see how all the mechanics, I guess, of it works with like base camp setup, pacing, nutrition for it, like all of these things that I think you sort of have to consider that are quite different from like one of the traditional sort of alpine ultras. So yeah, that'll be good. And then we've actually got quite a few weeks of not much. And then the main sort of race, which has been one of the main ones for the year, is this Ultramarathon 100k by UTMB. So I think it's actually 110k, and it's about 10 weeks out from now. So actually not a lot of time, but at least we have, an uninterrupted block of 6 weeks of training here, where we can just sort of focus on back-to-back long runs and all of that stuff, building the mileage back up, to try and go for a pretty good time here, try and improve the UTMB index a little bit. But yeah, that's the plan for the next couple of weeks, next 10 weeks, for the end of the year. And then most likely after that, November, December, we'll just go into a bit of an off season, and prepare for some big events next year. So yeah, that's the plan. Thanks for coming along to the post-race week, and hopefully you learned something to recover for your next ultra. See you in the next one.